Hello and welcome to Thursday Thoughts. Thursday Thoughts? What the hell are they? I hear you cry. Well, my friend Polly and I meet every week over on Instagram to talk all things personal growth because she is as obsessed with it as I am. And we decided that we might as well put those conversations out as a weekly podcast. So now you can listen to us chat here on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. And we'll be talking about topics such as spirituality, limiting beliefs, ego, imposter syndrome, gratitude, meditation, confidence, and so much more. So, if you're ready, here we go.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
You?
How you doing, love?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. I've had a stinking cold and cough, so if I suddenly have a coughing fit,
Oh no.
you'll know why. I'm absolutely fine. I've had it since last week, and I never get ill. Like I never get, well, very rarely. And I just woke up last Thursday with a really, really scratchy throat, and just thought, oh no. And I've just been completely congested ever since, really. But apart from that, I'm absolutely fine. I don't feel ill. I just feel a bit, you know what I mean? Oh, Polly, you still there?
Yeah. Sorry,
Oh, there you are.
I'm just trying to get my you in my ears because the sound I know is always better. But I don't know why, because my headphones seem to talk to my laptop, and I never really understand why. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You know, on your laptop, you can shut off Bluetooth
That's
so that
right.
it can't connect to your laptop.
That's what I've just done. It's really, there we go. That's better. I can hear you now. Okay, so today, it's on the back really of some really amazing news I had from a friend of mine, and actually inspired me to write an email to my subscribers, and it had quite a lot of attention. I thought it'd be quite a good thing to talk about. So basically, the story is. And I've checked with my friend, she's very happy for me to share this. But she was diagnosed with breast cancer a couple of years ago. So it was actually just after my 50th birthday. She was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she was put into the system of doctors and hospitals and was recommended to have a mastectomy. And she didn't know this at the time, but actually the breast cancer wasn't a very aggressive breast cancer. So I'm saying this isn't going to be the case for everybody. Everybody's case is so unique and different. But she just totally felt like having a mastectomy wasn't the option for her, and decided to go things her way. And so she saw a functional doctor and decided to really go down the route of diet, of lifestyle, of all of these things. Anyway, cut a very long story short, last week got the most amazing news that she has no signs of cancer in her body. And in the meantime, in those 2 years, actually, it had spread. It had spread to her belly. It had spread to her spine. That she did go on some drugs, which they recommended, which, you don't know how much of that had to do with it as well. But she didn't go for the really harsh treatment. She went for the drugs, and she went for which the drugs put her immediately into menopause. She didn't have one menopause side effect, probably because she was cut out all the sugar. I mean, it was what she did was pretty blimmin' amazing, because she cut out all the sugar, completely changed her diet, no alcohol. She really doubled down on meditation and really leaned into her spirituality. She carried on exercising. I mean, it was really harsh, particularly the diet. Everything had to be so homemade, and in that time as well, her mum very sadly got diagnosed with cancer and sadly died. So she had a huge amount going on, but she was really trying to eliminate the stress. So all the things that we know and we talk about, we know are good for us, like diet, lifestyle and stuff. She just went for it. She chose to do it her way. And honestly, unbelievable news that she's now had a scan, her recent scan showed no trace of cancer. And obviously she's got to be careful. And this is now her chosen way of living. She can't go back to what she was doing before. She needs to, carry it on. But she said to me, I'm signed. I feel so much better than I have ever done, ever. I mean, she said, I'm the body shape I know I should be. I feel so much better. I've got more energy. I've got a clearer mind. And her message really to me, and which really stuck with me, was like, you know, it's so frustrating to see people waiting until they hit the rock bottom, until they get the diagnosis, until really everything is falling apart. It's like, don't wait to do the things that you know are good for you. Well, just do it now, because actually and it doesn't have to be a massive overhaul of your life like it was for her. It can just be, one small step today, one small change in something that you might add into your diet. It might just be that one small thing, but it's just putting you into that trajectory of slightly shifting things in your favor. And it's really stuck with me. And yes, I'm very mindful about how I live my life, but there's still a lot of things in my life where I'm like, oh, I know that's really not good for me. I know that makes me feel like shit. And how it's kind of like, when are you prepared to shift it? When does that balance tip in terms of, okay, it's really not doing me so good anymore. I need to actually shift that balance to make me feel good. So yeah, I just thought it was a really, really lovely message though for her to share, because it's like and it can be not just about maybe diet and exercise, but also about the people we surround ourselves with. What is draining our energy? Are you stuck in a group of friends and or a particular person and they're draining everything from you? Don't wait. What are you waiting for? Make the shift now. Are you in a job that you absolutely bloody hate? Okay, you can't just maybe leave, but can you start taking steps towards working out something different? Choose you rather than these things which are dragging you down, which are not serving you. Because life is so fragile and you just don't quite know what is around the corner. And I don't know about you, Lucy, but in my friendship group, particularly in the last couple of years, there are more and more people who have been diagnosed with some sort of form of cancer or something. Things are beginning to start to crop up. And it's a real reminder that, yes, we just don't know. We don't know what's around the corner. So let's do what we can now to really fully live life. And I'm not saying you have to cut out everything that is not necessarily good for you and take away any fun. It's not that at all, because actually we've got to find the fun. We've got to find the joy. And those moments are really important. And it's just weighing it up, it's weighing up what are the things that are good for you versus the things that really drain you, that really take your energy away.
Yeah. Gosh, what an amazing story, and such a great topic to make people sort of think. And it makes me think of, I've listened to, you and I listen to a lot of the same podcasts, I think. And, I listen to a lot of health and wellness podcasts, and so many, doctors, scientists out there have made it incredibly clear. And I think we all know this, which is that we have more of an influence over our long-term health. And so many people are like, well, it's in my genes, and I'm going to get that because my dad blah, 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 blah. And actually, it's reminded me also, we just finished in my membership book club, we did a book called The Expectation Effect by David Robson.
Yeah, I know that book.
Right. And
it's so good. Yeah,
so good. I'm going to sneeze again. I just sneezed earlier and I tried to make it quiet, but it's coming again. Oh god. Anyway, hopefully it'll pass. In the final chapter of that book, he talks about the super ages. And basically, I found that chapter, I found every chapter absolutely fascinating, but particularly the aging one, because basically the truth is that, yes, genetics do play a part in how we age and what we are predisposed to, what we're more likely to get, blah, 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 blah. But actually, more than that, it's about, number one, how we look after ourselves. And, like your friend's done, completely sort of overhauling, like how you're living your lifestyle. and also it's also to do with how you are thinking about aging. And this is what I found so fascinating in the research that David Rossman talks about in his book. It is not just your lifestyle, but it's also how you are. Sorry, I'm going off on a slight tangent from the topic at hand, but I think it's just interesting to point out that when it comes to aging, how you think about aging not only affects how, you know, your experience of aging, but it also affects how many freaking years you live. And I just thought that was so fascinating. So coming back to your friend, I mean, you know, it just, what an incredible example of proof that, you know, the alternative stuff works. Like, and when I say alternative, it's not even alternative. It's like it's a no-brainer. Diet has a huge impact. I mean, ultimately, it's sleep, diet, movement. Those three things. If you nail those three things, you're in with a pretty good chance. If you can nail your diet, if you can nail your sleep, and if you can move regularly, I think those three things are just absolutely crucial. And, you know, I'd be really interested to know actually exactly what your friend did when you say she gave up sugar, and what tell us a little bit more about the diet she's now on.
Well,
what did she change?
She's going to come on my podcast when she feels up for it, because she's really up for doing that and sharing it. So actually, I mean, I'm going to have to leave it for her to tell us exactly what she did. But from what because I don't want to do it at her disservice of getting it wrong. But you know, cancer feeds on sugar essentially, and what's quite remarkable is when you go in, and I mean, it depends obviously on which doctor or which oncologist you see, but no one tells you that, and no one says, or maybe you might like to think about eliminating sugar from your diet, but cancer feeds on sugar. So if you can eliminate sugar, then the cancer cells have nothing to feed on in your body. I mean, it makes sense, right? It totally makes sense. So, yes, I mean, she literally was eating plants, really. I mean,
no meat.
No meat. It was very much a plant-based, very much plant-based diet. It was very, I mean, it was pretty strict. So it's been tough, you know, it wasn't an easy choice. And I think maybe she might, I don't know, I need to speak to her about it. But yeah, I mean, really tough. But going back to what you were saying about your thoughts and mindset, I mean, the doctor that she saw, the functional doctor, was very much all about this as well. He's like, the people, you can be doing all the things, but if you don't truly believe or have the right mindset for it, actually this stuff might well not work. Having the right mindset and believing that it's going to work is super powerful. And one thing I noticed with my friend is, I mean, she always was like, I'm going to do this. I know that I'm doing the right thing. I know this is the right path for me. She was so convinced it was going to work for her and had just so much belief. And of course, there were bits which were bloody difficult and hard, and it was not easy. But that was the most impressive thing, and I'm sure that has helped. And actually, when she comes on my podcast, I must get her to remind me, because she said that obviously anybody who gets a diagnosis of cancer, everybody's story is different, everybody's bodies is different. However, there are apparently 8 or 9 commonalities between the people who have all managed to rid themselves of the cancer, things which are in common. And I can't remember off the top of my head what they are, but they are the things which I do know. It's obviously diet, exercise, reducing stress, spirituality, and having a faith is a really big part of it. I can't remember the rest, but those were the ones which really stuck. You know, it's the things that we know are good for us, and they are fundamental for good living, for good health. Oh, joy, connection to people, nature, all of these things that we talk about are all totally key to wellness, because we're humans, and that's what we need. We're meant to be outside in nature. We're meant to have some sort of human connection. We're meant to enjoy ourselves.
And also,
go on.
sorry, always going to say is also when it comes to disease, we have a lot, and I have to be very careful what I say here. Obviously, medication comes into it when it comes to things like, cancer diagnosis and all the rest of it. But we do have within us our own kind of medicine cabinet in our body.
Yeah, well, I think
when you... Sorry, go on.
I think it's about giving your body the right environment
for
it to be able to heal itself.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's the key, isn't it? Because without that, when you have imbalances, your body's not able to. But when you give it the environment, it is able to heal itself.
Yeah.
But obviously, sometimes drugs are absolutely essential as well. We're not saying that.
No,
you can't,
I'm not saying
that. And she did take some drugs.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying, so it's like, but she did this alongside.
I will only ever recommend brands that I know, love and use myself. And one of those is Ancient and Brave. Honestly, they've become part of my daily habits. The very first thing I do every morning is pour myself a big glass of water with their true hydration in it. It feels like such a simple ritual, but it really sets me up for the day. And I know I'm properly rehydrating with their blend of electrolytes and minerals, especially before I exercise, which I always do in the morning. Then later on, when I make my coffee, I stir in their true collagen powder into the coffee. Now, it blends in straight away, no fuss, there's no taste, and collagen is something we naturally lose as we age, but it's so important for our skin, joints, and overall vitality. Now, I'll be honest, Ancient and Brave may cost a little more than some of the tubs you'll spot on supermarket shelves, but the difference is you're getting the highest quality ingredients, sourced with integrity and tested to a higher standard, and absolutely no nasties added. That's why I trust them and why I think they're worth every penny. And because I want you to be able to try them out for yourself, I've got a special offer for you. As a listener of this podcast, you can get 20% off your very first order. All you need to do is click the link in the show notes and pop in the code POLYW20 at checkout. They've got more than just collagen and hydration too. They've got creatine, they've got blends, supplements. So it's a perfect chance to explore their range and make the most of that 20% off.
One other thing, Polly, that's just come to mind, and he's someone we've talked about before, is Joe Dispenza, because I really believe, and again, actually, just quickly to pick up on what you were saying about belief. Belief is everything in life, whether it comes to illness, whether it comes to success. If you believe in something, going back to the expectation effect, what you expect, you tend to get. So I think we cannot understate the importance of belief. And like you say, your friend had absolute belief that she was doing the right thing, that she was on the right path, and that was the right path for her. And when it comes to anything like, now this is going off on a tangent, but just thinking about you and I and our businesses, and we talked about this before, and I have a belief that it's going to work out. I just have a belief that it is going to work out. Doesn't mean it hasn't been fucking hard work and continues to be hard work every single goddamn day of my life. It does. But I have this inherent knowing and this inherent faith and this inherent belief that my business is going to explode and it's going to go places and it's going to be a success. I believe that. And of all the research that I have done around success and just people running businesses and all the rest of it, it really, belief really truly matters. And coming back to the health thing, it's like you say, that spirituality is one of the things that's really important for people who recover from things like cancer. Because when there is, it's not woo-woo. Faith and belief are incredibly important for so many reasons. And I just think it's worth pointing that out. And I've certainly found it in my life, because not least because when you have faith, when you have belief, you're far less likely to quit. So because your friend had the belief, and I absolutely do not want to speak for her at all, but I'm assuming that it was that faith and that belief that made it easier to not quit on a really, really difficult life overhaul, because had she not really believed it was going to work, she might, and again, I'm not speaking for her, but just in general, had she not had full belief, perhaps she would have found it too hard, she might have given up, or whatever it was. So I think it's really worth just mentioning, the importance of belief. I had another point that I was going to say at the beginning of this ramble, and I can't remember what the hell it was.
But yeah, and on that, I mean, so she had such a belief that, and obviously that made it was very, very difficult for her husband, for children to support her in that, because how scary, you might think, well, just do whatever you can because we want you here. But they did support her, fully. But I know that, again, that wasn't easy, because she was so determined that this was the right way, and it's proven, in this case, thank goodness, it's proven right and amazing. And I think, and just going back to, why wait, I just think we often feel like, we'll wait for a better time in our lives when things are a little bit quieter or things are a little bit more settled, that we'll go, okay, well then I'll start, I'll eat better then. I won't be so stressed, or I'll definitely, cut out all the crap that I'm eating, or I'll, you just kind of always give yourself little excuses. I'm a great one for doing this as well. Oh, I'll do it when this happens. But actually, we've got to stop doing that, because there is never a great time. There's never a right time. You can do it right now.
It's so true. And by doing it now, you're potentially preventing things from happening down the line. And that's one of the reasons to do it now. It's like, you don't want to wait until you've had the diagnosis or until it's too late. You want to start it now. The thing that I was going to say, Polly, that's come back to me is Joe Dispenza, because I was going to just say a little bit about meditation. That I really believe that, like, for example, I've never had COVID, right? And like I was just saying, I've got a cold now, but I rarely get colds or, anything like that. And I often hear people around me going, "Oh, there's a cold going around." I'm like, "Is there?" I have no idea. It just, I'm so often hearing people talking about, "Oh, I had this lurgy going around," da, 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 da. And I quite often think, it doesn't seem to impact me so much. And I truly believe that part of the reason for that is because of my meditation practice. And if you study Joe Dispenza and you go a bit into his work, he talks about, and he's researched many, many, many people who have literally cured themselves of serious diseases through intensive meditation. And for anyone rolling your eyes, just maybe don't, and open your mind and check this out, look into it. Because there is no doubt that things like meditation can impact your overall health. And not only that, but if and when you get something, it can help with recovery 100%. And I'm a real believer in meditation having, the ability to help with physical as well as mental health. And again, Joe Dispenza's research, he does more and more and more of it, but his work is incredible. And if you listen to some of the stories that he talks about, it's honestly mind-blowing. But again, like you say, the whole point of this conversation is why, don't wait until you need it. Start doing it now. Start adding in those practices to your life. And the funny thing is, it literally is the things that you and I talk about here every single week. It's the same stuff that comes up. It's like being mindful. It's having awareness. It's trying to eat healthily. It's trying to exercise. It's doing meditation. It's doing breath work. It's like we kind of all know what we should be doing, but life gets in the way, and it can make it really, really, really difficult. And going back to what you were saying at the beginning, we're not saying do everything at once right now, but maybe you can start just bringing awareness to one particular area of your life. Maybe that will be your diet. Maybe you want to cut down sugar a little bit. Maybe you want to start meditating. Maybe you want to start doubling down on how much sleep you're getting. You can add these little things in gradually. And ultimately, the thing about all of this stuff is that it all makes you feel amazing. Like, it makes you feel really good when you are doing these practices, and when you're when your lifestyle is a positive lifestyle, it makes you feel good. I think often we think that it's going to take our fun away and it's going to remove joy from our lives, and it's just not the case. If anything, it's the complete opposite.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, life, and I've really been thinking about this a lot recently. I mean, life is literally a collection of moment after moment after moment after moment. And that literally is what life is. It's moments all brought together. So when you think of life like that, you can just decide, right, in this moment, what can I do? And that is why I bloody love attention to your breath and breathing, because literally it's the simplest thing that you can come back to in that moment. I am just going to be aware of how I'm breathing. Simple as that. And in this moment, I can really just focus on that. And it can do so many things for me physiologically and psychologically. If I slow my breath down physiologically, it's going to calm my heartbeat down, it's going to settle me down, but psychologically it's also going to create a little bit more space in my mind, so that I can then make a better choice. I can make a choice of my next step, and then for the next moment, and then for the next moment. And honestly, if you're someone at the moment who's, there's a lot going on, you've got some sort of, big stress, something big's happening in your life, or not, but actually, and you don't really know where to start because life just feels so full and chaotic and big. The simplest thing you can do is literally that. Come back to this moment, because literally this is all we've got, this moment. Nothing else really matters other than this moment. And come back to this, come back to your breath, and then just slow it down and just think, right, take it into the next moment. And I hope that makes sense, but it literally, that sometimes it's just as simple as that, bringing it back now to now.
Well, we have to remind ourselves of the most obvious thing in the whole wide world, which is that all we ever have is now, like you say. We're all so, we think about the past and we think about the future, and there's nothing wrong with thinking about either of those things, as long as you're not kind of living there. But because ultimately every single moment that let's say we talk about the future, but every single moment we're trying to get to in the future will be the now when we get to that point. It's always now. It's all we ever have. And like you say, it's a question of really just trying to be mindful of that. And the thing is, things like breath work, it's such a simple fix. I mean, I swear to God, if more people actually did, we've all heard it a million times, take a deep breath, you'll feel better. But we're not fucking doing it, or lots of us aren't doing it. And it's such a simple fix. It really does make a big difference. These things aren't necessarily hard, and they don't necessarily have to be particularly time consuming. But I think we always bring it back to awareness, but it is, it has to start with awareness. Any of this stuff has to start with awareness. But going back to your friend, like, we have to realize that, on the one hand, life is really long, but on the other hand, life is really short. And the one thing I think you start feeling this more the older you get, I certainly am feeling this more the older I get, is that you start to realize how, and I think you used this word in the beginning of our conversation, life is fragile. It is so fragile. And, we kind of take it for granted, but a million things can happen in any moment. We have no idea. So we might as well just kind of grab it by the bollocks and live it the best we can, because it truly is fragile, and we just don't know what is coming for us or the people that we love. It is so fragile. And certainly it's not something that I used to think about when I was in my 20s and my 30s, but now I'm 49, nearly 50. I think the older you get, you start having to kind of face the reality that you're not going to be here forever, and that can be really scary, but it can also be really sort of liberating. It's like the Stoics say, live with the end in mind, basically, live with death in mind, not in a depressing way, but just in a joyful way. It's like, well, this is my one life. I'm not going to be here forever. And when you're living with the end in mind, it kind of encourages you to really make the most of where you are right now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think about that quite a lot as well. I'm not scared of dying, and I think it's good to have it to mind. I don't think we talk about it enough, because we're all going to die at some point.
Exactly.
So actually, it's just a reminder that life is short. Let's just not fret too much about the things which really are not important. And we all do it, but actually let's just try and bring as much joy. I've just got a message actually from Jess. Morning, Jess. Who says, "Morning, ladies. I think sometimes adulting is overwhelming. We all know what we should be doing, but there's so much that we should be doing. So it all becomes too much, one step at a time, at 100%. And that's the thing. We do all know what we should be doing. And that's why sometimes it is literally like, what can I do in this moment? And focus on that. Or just think, if it is all too much overwhelming, just, as you said, Lucy, just choose one path and focus on that until it becomes a habit. You know, all habits are just about tiny steps at a time, and just focusing on that one thing and until it's embedded into your everyday, and then you can move on to the next thing.
And also it's always about taking those, you know, like Jess says, one step at a time. It's taking those. They don't have to be huge steps. Like let's say you want to focus on the movement part of this. You know, if you feel really overwhelmed, like, oh my God, I just can't bear the thought of going to the gym and working out for half an hour or an hour or whatever, just start with a 5-minute walk. Like, you can literally, it doesn't have to be anything huge. I think we sometimes become overwhelmed because we think we're looking at the big picture. We're looking at the whole thing. It's like if you want to write a book, you know, if you start thinking about the whole book, you'll start having a complete panic attack and feeling completely overwhelmed. No, you write a line at a time, a paragraph at a time, a word at a time. And, you know, if it's diet, it's like, well, I'm going to introduce one healthy thing into my diet once a day. I'm just going to add in, I don't know, some kimchi, which is something I've just started adding into my diet, or, you know, whatever it may be, or the 5-minute walk. And I think what's really important to remember, and I certainly really find this, and we talked about this before, but once you start adding those healthy habits in a very, very small way, you want to do more of that. So when you start adding a few healthy things into your diet, you want to start eating more healthily. You get a taste for it. It's the same with once you start doing a 5-minute walk and a 10-minute walk, then it's like, oh, actually, I feel like I quite want to go for a walk today, and maybe even a jog. Do you know what I mean? So it's like when you get a taster of the things that can feel really super overwhelming, but as soon as you start just taking the tiniest little step, you just get that taster, and then it kind of motivates you to keep moving forward and keep going. I think it's really important to remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's probably a good place to finish. So yeah, gosh, we've covered quite a lot of ground this morning.
I know.
Gone all over the place. So yeah, all good. Thank you.
Thanks, love.
Yeah, we'll speak next week.
Yeah, we'll be back this time next week. Sending you lots of love, babe. Speak to you later.
Hope you feel better. Bye.
Thanks, love. Bye.